Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Sam Gabriel here, and welcome to What If Deku Could Manipulate Gravity Part 5. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat, so we begin. The fight had been intense. Not just the one he stood in now, but the struggle just to get where he was in life. Even just to stand at that moment. A poor soul had to go through years upon years of pain and solitude. It was an obsession that would be impossible if not for the almost ravenous burden of hate carried by none other than Shoto Todoroki. Kaminari. With a minute left of the match, he coldly commanded the blonde, who immediately let out the largest discharge of electricity he could manage before going out of commission. Their team, wrapped behind the safety of an insulating blanket, once again cleared the area as the paralyzed students were frozen stiff. "Can you turn up the heat? My babies are starting to slow down, you know." The bicolored boy's face changed a little at Hatsume Mei's offhand comment, but he decided to ignore it. There were only seconds left, and all he had to do was wait it out. Bakugo was the only threat, since coming third wasn't what the blonde wanted. No one else could get in his way. That was until... Got it! With literally 5 seconds before the end, a freckled arm flashed before the left side of Todoroki's face. What? The headband that he had protected this whole time fluttered teasingly before the unfriendly child as his arm raised to take it back. It's so close! The winning ticket was right before him. All he had to do was grab it. That was it. Nothing else. But I can't reach it. The band was trailing away right before him, and Todoroki could feel his heart drop. No, I can't. There were only 2 seconds left before the buzzer went off, and out of panic, a small burst of flames erupted from the boy's left eye. "Ouch!" Izuku yelped as he was pulled upwards. The 10 million was in his hands, but the boy cried out in pain as he looked at the burnt area. His skin was a little charred, and the whole area was red and shiny. It hurt, but... I did it! The buzzer went off, and the greenette grinned. What a twist! Here we have it, folks! Let's see the winners for our next round! The display board came on as Mike announced the winners. What an amazing end to UA's battle! In first place, we have Team Midoriya with 10,001,410 points. An overwhelming win. They took out teams on the side and ate up first place. What a match! What a match! Recovery Girl was already healing the injured ones, and the greenette gave a wave as his burns disappeared. Sero, Ida, and Tokoyami were congratulating each other when the next team was announced. In second place, we have Team Bakugo with 1,155. Damn it. I mean, we're so close. An amazing fight, too. No surprises there. Bakugo was being grumpy as his team cheered each other on. Kirishima tried to help the blonde, but he refused as Mina talked to Shoji. And third place. If I remember right, 975 points. It's Team Huh? What? It's Team Shinso? The happy cheers from the crowd contrasted with Tetsu's team, who looked confused. They were supposed to be third, yet they did the same thing as Team Todoroki and ended up with 0 points. Instead, Team Shinso had taken their spots, although only the leader seemed happy about it. And the last team to make it into the next round with 465 points is Team Uraraka. The brunette cheered as she high-fived her team. They had been fifth the whole time, but their struggle hadn't been in vain. Jiro nodded as Sato smiled, and it was almost possible to see happy flowers bloom around Koda. These are the teams moving on. For now, we'll take an hour's break for lunch before we start the afternoon festivities. With Mike's voice echoing out, the kids started to disperse to break rooms, as one in particular looked at his left hand. I can't. He scanned the crowd of students to examine the one who pushed him to his limits. The greenhead in question was pulling faces at Bakugo as well as drinking water, and for some reason, Izuku's chaotic happiness got on the boy's nerves. Suddenly, even if there was no rhyme nor reason to his actions, Todoroki saw the freckled boy as an enemy, a rival. Midoriya. With a hand already on Izuku's shoulder, the heterochromatic boy caught the greenette's attention as the surrounding friendship group turns to watch. Todoroki, what are you, no hard feelings? The freckled one assumed that Todoroki was ready to throw hands since he took his headband, but the other shook his head. Instead, with serious intent, the ice user tried to pull the greenette away from his group. I need to talk to you. In private. Bakugo stopped yelling at Kirishima for 1 second to turn to the scene before Izuku. Huh? Icy hot? What do you want? That's none of your business. I need to have a word with Midoriya. Are you sure you can't just tell me now? Mina tried to calm down the growling grenade as Izuku turns toward Todoroki, who clearly didn't want company. He took a deep breath before sighing and giving in. Okay, we can talk. I'll see you guys later. They walked off together, and Todoroki dragged the greenette into an isolated corridor. With one leaning ominously and the other just confused, the two stood in silence. So, what's up? Izuku was confused and wanted answers, but the silence only kept going. He stood there uncomfortably until, I want to be rivals. Oh, was that it? Izuku thought to himself, but before he could agree to more competition, the topic of conversation changed, and the bicolored boy started to talk about his past. Hold on, what? The greenette couldn't speak as Todoroki went on a whole spiel about his family history, which really could get the number 2 hero arrested. The information he was saying was honestly so personal that the boy could only stand there in shocked silence. With more questions than answers floating in Izuku's mind, all the greenette managed to pick up was the end. So, if I ever get the chance to fight you in the future, I would like you to treat me like your rival, so I can see how I've defied my father this far. His speech ended, and the boy was met with silence. They just stared at each other for a moment as the freckled one gathered his thoughts. No. What? You heard me? I said no. I can't accept that. Todoroki had a look of confusion painted onto his scarred face, and his ignorance made Izuku look down. The forest green locks covered his eyes as he did. Do you not hear what you said? The class's quiet boy only looked more lost as he replied, I asked to be rivals? Exactly. I don't understand what's wrong. A rival isn't someone you use for your personal gain. Izuku's outburst took Todoroki by surprise as the greenette glared him down. The stare was completely hostile, and the boy was confused where he went wrong. But aren't you and Bakugo always using each other? Self-improvement isn't the same. How can you actually say your motivations line up with ours? What are you trying to prove? Denying my father is my self-improvement. Once I win without using his quirk, you don't get it at all. Izuku interrupted, not letting him finish. The bicolored boy just stood there dumbfounded as the greenette started to walk away, spitting his last words as he left. I hope we never fight you, Todoroki. With how you currently are, you can't even dream of being seen as my rival. Izuku's words were harsh, but he'd never felt angrier in his life. It was so bad that the boy felt sorry for his next contestant, as he could almost feel the rage ready to bubble out. Oh God, my inner Kacchan is possessing me. Calm down, me. I just have to hope I never fight Todoroki. As much as he wished for it, fate was not on his side. In a cruel twist, 2 students dropped their opportunity to move on to the next round. It was the quiet kid Ojiro and someone from 1B called Shota. Midnight accepted their dropout and pointed at both Team Tetsu and Todoroki. You both fought valiantly until the end. Therefore, I have decided that one person from each team can carry on to fill the gap. The 1B team easily let Tetsu be the one to pass, while there was a small argument for Todoroki's team, as the support corps student Hatsume Mei wanted to also pass. Even if Izuku wished Hatsume would win the argument, she lost in the end as the bicolored one was the leader of their group. Great. The very person he didn't want to fight was now his round too. He had no choice. With no other option, he just stomped into the waiting room. This is so annoying. Midoriya! Huh? Oh, you. Let's start the battles you've all been waiting for! For our first round, we have Izuku Midoriya from the Hero Course versus Hitoshi Shinso from General Studies. Izuku sighed as he randomly played with his quirk. Just a minute ago, Ojiro had been talking to him about being careful of something, but if the boy was honest, the greenette had ignored it all. He only had his next round in mind, and Izuku was nothing but pissed. He doesn't understand the point of rivals at all. He's so focused on his dad that... Start! So focused on his dad that... Hey! His dad that wasn't your classmate. Shut up already, God! Where can a kid get a moment to vent? Izuku interrupted Shinso's question, who tried again. Your monkey classmate must have been a huge... Let me think in peace! He took him out in one punch! Mike explained as the annoyed Izuku ended up just running forward to deliver a hit to the guts. The crowd cheered, but the greenette was confused. When did I do that? Looking down at the unconscious boy on the floor who was just trying to talk to him, the freckled boy blinked. I must have done that out of anger. Oops, I didn't think he would go out like that. With the kid wondering how his fists got so strong without much effort, Midnight announced his win. It was almost comedic as Izuku walked into the stands with Shinso being taken away in the background. The fact he had won still hadn't sunk in, and it still wasn't being registered as he stared at his fists. I won, but wasn't that more powerful than a normal human punch? His muttered question was met with silence as he tried to think right. Am I human? Mina walked into his existential crisis with an odd look. You okay, Mina, babe? She bent down to peer up at him, and the boy blankly responded, Am I human? Last time I checked, Yes? Okay, I'm human. Okay. Congrats on the win? I guess I should take the Are You a Robot quiz really quickly. Mina just confusedly laughed, and they returned to their seats to watch Seto and Todoroki walk onto the stage. You're lucky you get to fight him, Planetoid. Bakugo sighed as he sat back on his chair. I'm not. What was that? No, nothing. I just proved I'm human by clicking on squares with buses. The two chatted more, and from the fight below, the bicolored one saw that Izuku wasn't even watching his match. Even if he had used more ice than anticipated, the anger of Izuku having rejected his request made Todoroki flip. You didn't notice you used your quirk? No, I did? Yeah, dumbass. You were using it when you just stood there and ended up punching eye bags with it. So that's what happened, and here I thought, whoa! Mike's excited voice rang out as a gargantuan iceberg appeared before the crowd with the tape user frozen stiff in the middle. Isn't that a bit much? With the crowd awkwardly cheering, "Don't worry about it," to the one who lost so dramatically, Seto wobbled off the stage. Todoroki glanced up at the seats, and although Bakugo seemed more than ready to fight, the one who ignited his fire, even for a moment, did not even glance at him. And now it's time for our next round. We have Kyoka Jiro versus Mezo Shoji, both from Hero Course 1A. With the buzzer ringing out for everyone to hear, the battle began. Wasting no time at all, earlobes stretched as the jacks were slammed into the ground. Within a second, a violent vibration could be heard thumping out and the stage floor shattered in Shoji's direction. The multi-armed boy immediately reacted and ran to the side, avoiding the huge attack and jumping over the broken grounds. Damn it, I missed. Jiro got up, her purple hair slightly messy as she had poured her all into trying to also one-shot her match. The two pairs of black eyes stared each other down when Shoji went on the offensive. Gliding right toward her, the jacks threatened to pierce skin as two hands shot forward to grab the girl. Avoiding the run-up, Jiro twisted her body to try and escape, but was only met with another set of arms already behind her. What? When did he... With her jacks held tightly in two arms and her limbs held still by others, the girl was immobile as she simply wasn't physically stronger. Jiro is immobile, so Shoji has won the match! Cheers echoed out, and before they could simmer down, the next match started. The second cement toss fixed the stage. Tenya Ida versus Hirikido Sato! Before anyone could even react, a yell of "Torque over Reciproburst!" filled the stadium along with a cloud of dust. By the time it settled down, the match was already over. What was that? What was that? I didn't see anything! Sato is out of bounds! Ida moves on to the next round! Izuku was having a great time analyzing his classmates' quirks as Mina won her match against Aoyama. The sparkly boy had had his belt melted and his face punched. Oh, that must have hurt. Ha! Good. God damn it, Kacchan. The next round was rather peculiar as Koda refused to move. The shy boy just stood there in silence and Tokoyami just couldn't attack like that. After a few more attempts, the anxious classmate finally yelled for help and a flock of birds flew into the stadium. Their opponent was forced to dance around the stage as he avoided the birds both pecking at him and trying to bombard him with rather unpleasant waste. In the end, however, the creatures couldn't attack what was essentially a bigger bird made out of darkness. I feel bad for Koda. Nah, that was boring. No, he just doesn't know how to fight a friend. Kacchan, be nice. I said what I said. But imagine if he controls spiders and other creepy crawlies to eat you out for the... I'm gonna have to stop you there. Can you two stop arguing for 1 second and watch Kitty's match? The two turned to watch the two metapods in different skins clash against each other and eventually knock each other out simultaneously. It's a draw for now. We'll have a rematch when they're both awake. Dumbass. Not gonna lie, you're right this time. You two agreeing is honestly worse. Bakugo got up for his match, and Mina sighed as she sat next to the greenette. You think he'll go softer on Uraraka? The Viridian eyes stared at the acid producer as if she was stupid, and the expression was more than enough to answer her question. I guess he doesn't hold back for anyone. At this point, he's making everyone his rival. Mina's words struck something in the greenette as the blonde's match against Uraraka began. She's right. If Todoroki asked Kacchan and told him the same thing, I can see his response would be, Huh? I don't care what your shitty past is, just fight me with all you've got. The image in his mind made the greenette chuckle, and it only creeped out Mina as she thought he was laughing at Bakugo sending an explosion to Uraraka's face. Does that mean my response was wrong? I still don't feel like I am. I mean, rivals are so you have a competition to the fullest, not to be used as some sort of means to revenge. Actually, I can imagine Kacchan throwing a fit if he found out Todoroki could use fire and didn't. Maybe I'm not too far off. The human grenade missed as Uraraka used her jersey to make an escape. Bakugo didn't react, though, and only decided to fight more viciously. But what if I am? A spot as All Might's successor is at stake within our rivalry, but we're both working as hard as we can towards it. In the end, it's just a prize. We just want to take first place. Todoroki also wants first, but Izuku finally reached a conclusion as Uraraka's secret move ended up being overpowered by a colossal explosion. He's not doing that for himself. He's just completely disregarding the point of rivals. The crowd, including the completely biased present Mike, who was openly cheering for Uraraka, had an awkward tension as Bakugo triumphed over the struggling girl. She had been fighting her all, and was even struggling as she was completely out of energy. It was honestly a valiant effort, and the very reason the blonde had gone all out in the first place. She had gone beyond her limits, not just for herself, and he respected that. "Not bad, Pink Cheeks. I'll fight you full strength any time." Holding a hand out, the brunette clasped it and was dragged to her feet. The words meant a lot, and she smiled back. "You and Midoriya, better watch out. I'll be taking first next time." Izuku grinned and nodded. Now that is rivalry. Not whatever Todoroki was asking for. The brunette's heartwarming and determined words eased the tension that the crowd held, and cheers for Bakugo started to erupt around. There was no guilt, because Uraraka had simply done her best, and although she was out now, she was more than ready to keep going. It was honestly inspiring for everyone watching, and some in the crowd even started to cheer for her. She waved to them with a big smile before walking off stage. "You see that, too? I'll get stronger. For the both of us." The break between the two rounds started, and the crowd got to watch the hilarious arm-wrestling match between Tetsutetsu and Kirishima as they waited. The gripping competition was one of the funniest, due to the unbelievably identical but serious faces that both boys wore. By the end of the ridiculous match, Kirishima was the one to win, and it was over after they had a handshake to their healthy sportsmanship. We are back with a fierce battle ahead, guys. Both these boys finished their matches with one hit. Who's going to move on? We have Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. Looks like we fight after all. I don't even want to be here. Start! And up I go. Decrease. Izuku crouched down as low as he could before taking his highest jump. He just wanted to end the match quickly as he held his hands out before him. With a wave, the green net created multiple gravity-dense spheres of space. Even if the volume of each was no more than a marble, the boy knew it was effective on both zero-pointer robots and running Kaccans. Todoroki sent a wave of ice to the gravity manipulator's body, but as Izuku predicted, missed because his elbow suddenly buckled a little. He took another step forward, and his whole body shook as his knee also wobbled under the sudden weight. To retaliate, the bicolored boy simply stood still. Damn, he saw through the weakness pretty quickly. As Izuku started to descend again, he tried to think of a way to beat Todoroki from a distance, and in the end, couldn't think of one. Even if I made a sphere of space that can fit Todoroki in to increase, he can probably just walk out. Looks like he can walk out of an extreme situation, and I can't use increase as much as decrease. I'll faint after a good 20 or so massive spheres. I guess I'm going to switch and see if he can find the second weakness. Increase! 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 As expected, the boy who wished to be his rival could sense the air around him feel denser, and reacted smartly by creating an ice pillar to raise his body upward. Avoiding going anywhere but up and down was exactly how to avoid crashing into the accurately placed marbles of space, but Izuku smiled as he started to shrink the space he manipulated. The gravity got denser and denser on Todoroki's center of mass, and when it got to the size of a football, the greenette shoved it to the side. Following it like a rag doll, his opponent's body was forced to fall to the side, and Izuku relaxed his hands before clenching them again to form the marbles of gravity-dense air. A wave of ice saved the other as he uprighted himself despite his limbs acting like jelly, and the exchange occurred again and again as the greenette didn't have to worry about his body temperature. There was enough ice all over the stage that his warm body was actually the perfect temperature compared to Todoroki, who was shivering like a newborn deer. He looks ready to drop out any second, but... dehydration. Izuku had been increasing gravity the whole time, and although it was effective, it was draining on his body. Decreasing his body was the easiest way to move around, but since movement was limited, at some point within the match, Izuku had started to rely more on increasing again. By creating small marbles of gravity-dense space, the boy's light body was heavily attracted to the pole, and he ended up traveling through the air that way. But between the big spheres being shrunk to drag Todoroki to the floor and having to maneuver himself, all the increasing only left one thought. Yep, I'm feeling a little faint. Todoroki saw Izuku starting to take a few heavy breaths and gritted his teeth. He had fought so hard just to get where he was now, but if it became a fight of endurance, the Greenette was going to win. I can't lose. The heterochromatic eyes glared at the man who he hated with an obsession. Not until I beat him. This is why I rejected your rivalry! Izuku's voice dragged Todoroki's attention back to the match, and the boy could almost feel anger oozing out of the Greenette. The way he acted was like a silent, more calculating Bakugo, and it deeply disturbed many. I don't know why you're not getting it! Another wave of ice was sent out, and Izuku let his body be dragged to the side around the gravity-dense sphere like a planet orbiting the sun. He didn't even attempt to fight back, and it caused Todoroki's calm and stoic face once again to look confused. The expression only angered the Greenette, though, as he started to yell. Because you half-ass everything! Giving up on flight, Izuku landed near his classmate and roughly pushed him. Making the boy's body weight as small as it could go, the force sent Todoroki flying upwards, and before the ice user could react, the Greenette yelled out, Increase! Landing with a heavy thud on the cement below, the brutal process was repeated again and again, all without the heterochromatic one being able to keep up. A couple moments later, Izuku could feel his own body just about ready to give in to dehydration, but he wanted to get his point across. Half-and-half bastard suits you! You say you're rejecting your father, but you're even half-assing that! He could feel his quirk building upon his fists again like the way he had been playing with it before in Shinzo's match, and with one last punch to the gut, the Greenette had won the match. If you want me to even consider you my opponent, then finish your own damn problems first, head on! Advice from someone with a real rival: use everything you have and turn it against him. Nothing is more gratifying than when you triumph over someone more powerful at your best. Midnight announced the win, and Izuku turned his back to the bicolored one. While you aim for second, Kacchan and I are going for the top. I won't even consider your existence unless you sort yourself out. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye and have a divine day.